Welcome back to Hard Hats and Headspace, the podcast where we explore the human side of construction, from mental health and well-being to the culture that shapes our industry. I'm your host, Stuart Wallace, and today we're diving into a special episode ready for World Quality Week 2025. Now, you might be thinking, quality, Stu, that doesn't fit what you normally talk about. Well, I'm going to prove you wrong today. In many of my previous podcasts, I've talked about how Graham Ludlow once told me we only get paid for putting pipes and wires on walls and to do it properly first time. Well, that's all about quality. Today, we're going to challenge that quality is all about compliance and paperwork and box ticking. Because in construction, quality isn't just about compliance and paperwork and box ticking. It's about care. It's about creating environments where people feel safe, supported, and proud of the work that they do. Joining me will be three brilliant guests from Mace, who bring a wealth of experience from across engineering, safety and quality. Russell Lawler, Emma Quinnell-Spencer and Stavroula Mastarodimou. They've all walked different paths to get where they're going to where they are today, whether that's from the Royal Navy right through to Heathrow terminals. And we'll hear today about quality and how it has shaped their journey and how it connects deeply to health and safety. We'll explore more how quality systems can reinforce mental health and safety culture, how lessons from major incidents like Grenfell and the Piper Alpha disaster have reshaped our approach, and how this year's theme, Quality, Think Differently, invites us to reimagine excellence and what it really looks like in our industry. So whether you're just coming in off the site, in the office, the car or on the train, and just taking a moment to reflect, settle in. This is a conversation about doing the right things, looking after each other, and building a better future. One decision at a time. Welcome to the chat. Welcome all. Let's have a quick delve into how you got here. I did delve into that briefly in the introduction, but let's talk about how you got to where you are today, your positions within the quality team at Mace. Ladies first.
Thanks for hosting us, Stuart. My name is Stavroula. I'm a quality manager at Mace, working on aviation projects on Heathrow and Gatwick. I've studied urban planning and regional development back in Greece.
Wow.
And when I graduated, I moved in the UK. I've done that literally 4 days later. I've tried to find a job on that field, but it was quite challenging. I randomly found a job at Crossrail, focused around quality. So I basically randomly fell into that. But it is a quite charming discipline. So I followed that, and I'm here 7 years later, still working on quality.
7 years. I mean, Crossrail was a good introduction, no doubt about it. And you never know what you're going to get into when you leave with your qualifications, do you?
Yeah, it was a really nice one. The quality was quite high, and it was a very good introduction for me and made me love it.
It was a good job. I was on Crossrail as well for a bit. All of it. I was a consultant for industrial relations, so it was good fun. What about you? How did you get here?
How did I get here?
I don't mean in the lift.
Oh, so Emma Quinnell-Spencer. I've been working at Mace for almost 4 years, come up in March. Where did my sort of journey begin? So back in 2011, I joined the Royal Navy, spent 10 years working there.
Incredible.
That had a young child at the age of 21, so made me reflect on kind of where I wanted to be in regards to work-life balance. And having spoken to my sister, who's a builder control surveyor, she said, have you not considered going into construction? By chance, her husband's brother works in construction and said, what about an opportunity going and working in commercial?
Yeah.
Applied for the commercial role, and that didn't sort of work out. I said, well, what about health safety work? So my journey initially started off working for Skanska, looking after projects at Peterborough, Cambridge, 25. Hinkley Point C was a big eye-opener.
Yeah, I bet.
And I left there because it was quite a huge spread when it comes to location-wise, and having left the Navy and coming into Skanska.
The work-life balance, that doesn't sound like it was, it's a big spread, big geographical spread, isn't it, for that?
It was most definitely. So I went and worked for another few organisations like Trant Engineering, R&W Civil Engineering, and then worked for a company called Babcock at Heathrow Airport. And then during COVID, again, went to work back in sort of the water process industries. And then the opportunity came up from Mace in health and safety wellbeing. I stuck with the health and safety wellbeing hat on for a number of years. And then a job opportunity was in Russell's department, which I applied for, and been working as part of his team for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thoroughly enjoy it.
And it's good. I mean, transferable skills between the safety team and the quality team, I would suggest. And it's career progression. And you get to work with Russell.
Well, with me.
Would you like to introduce yourself, Russell?
Yes, of course, Stuart. Russell Lawler, I'm the quality lead for Mace in the infrastructure sector. Been with the company for 22 years on the 8th of December. So a big anniversary coming up. Part of that, my father said, son, you're going to be an engineer. So I left school and took up an engineering apprenticeship, mechanical and electrical, did that for 5 years and then stayed in that industry in the automotive sector the next 15 years. Worked with all the sort of major car manufacturers over that time. We were a supplier of various types of components for cars. Obviously, quality is a big
Pretty serious
driver in
yeah.
automotive. I mean, I remember back in the 80s when cars were not particularly great and the industry needed to change, so and the Japanese were the industry changed, and, today you can pretty much go out and buy any vehicle and it will be a very good,
Pretty safe.
Good service. So fell into the job with Mace purely by chance because I spent a short period of time in aerospace. Was really interested in the technology, aircraft, flying. So I joined a company working with Airbus. Unfortunately, then we had 9/11. And following that, at the time we had a young daughter. So I was daddy daycare for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm being honest, that was quite challenging. It's harder than you imagine.
Yeah.
And then I got a call out of the blue from an ex-colleague that I worked with in the Operatives. Let's have a chat.
That's fantastic.
And I've been here ever since. So,
I didn't know we had a similar path. I was working at Vauxhalls in Ellesmere Port,
yeah,
although probably not doing as high level stuff, but yeah.
been to Ellesmere Port many times.
Yeah, home of the
engine
Astra.
plants
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, used to go for Toyota up there.
Toyota, my brother works at Toyota. He's a foreman, supervisor.
What, in Ellesmere Port?
In D-side at Toyota.
Oh, yeah, D-side
Yeah.
in there as well. Yeah.
Oh.
Also used to go to the assembly plant
Yeah. Just past the JCB.
just past
Plant.
the Marmite factory on the
Yeah.
A38.
Small world.
Can't miss that smell.
Love it or hate it, right? Yeah. So you're all in Mason in the team, and it was something I said in the intro, which is I think there was a guy I used to work for called Graham Dudlow, brilliant fella, and he was my chairman at the time, and he said, we only get paid when we put pipes and wires on walls and we do it properly and correctly. And that was my job, was to make sure those people that work for us were treated with respect, looked after, didn't have any problems, but also learned that doing the job right first time has such a massive impact, not just on reworks, right, which is expensive, but the quality of the installation and that. So it fits more than I originally realised in what you do and what I do, because if someone's doing poor quality, this could be me, maybe that's going to see the construction company, whichever sub it is, saying, your guys ain't good enough. So yeah, I was intrigued on that. So thanks for sharing your journeys. You've each got a unique lens. I mean, international and Navy as well. My granddad was in the Royal Navy as well. And from automotive, so to very different safety backgrounds as well. So let's dive into our first topic, which is the relationship between quality and health, safety and well-being. And at Mace, these aren't separate boxes, I don't believe. So they're part of the same cycle. So how do you see quality shaping environments that we work in, and how does it support people's well-being and beyond?
Yeah, so I'll kick off on that. I mean, you're absolutely right, Stuart. There's a intrinsic link between the two. I think quality and fairness has probably taken a bit of a back seat, if I'm being honest, over the years. Safety is number one priority, and absolutely rightly so. But behind every safety process, there is a quality element. And, it's about following processes and procedures that keep you safe. But I don't think people really appreciate that. Over my time, I've probably been involved in lots and lots of different incident type investigations, and I always look at it from the lens of and when you really look closely at it, yes, there is, and many investigations failure in process and procedures, or the process or procedure isn't robust enough, or it doesn't meet the requirement, and therefore you end up with an unsafe condition. To sit hand in hand.
Yeah, and I think, when quality fails in that, and I've heard statistics about, within Mace, for example, of 4 steps to going home safe and well. 95% of those, a step was missing in those incidents, something that was near miss or actual, right? And that is, you're right, it's the process and the procedure of what we've put in place. And we can, when quality fails, whether it's the quality of following those procedures or someone's ability to follow those procedures, consequences can be devastating.
Okay. Yeah.
You
just touched on the 4 steps to going home safe and well. In Mace, we have the 4 steps to quality, and they are very similar. Do you have the right information to do your work? Do you have the right tools and equipment to carry out that task? Are you trained and competent to do so? And do you know the quality standard you're trying to achieve? They are very, very relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when one of those is missed or not quite understood, then we've got problems. And you have things like a terrible instance like Grenfell or Piper Alpha. I remember Adrian Cunningham I used to work with for the union was one of the lead safety investigators on Piper Alpha. And they shaped how we work today. So if you look at those incidents, what do you think we can learn from them? Or what have we learned from them from a quality perspective?
Well, before you speak, Emma, because I know you're passionate. 3 weeks back, we had our supply chain in for a bit of some of the challenges we face from a quality perspective, and Stavroula was part of that session. And the way we pitched it was we had to put it in some context, because a quality plan or an inspection test plan or an audit NCR doesn't give it the gravitas that we're trying to get across. So we pitched this as, we use Grenfell. We use Grenfell as an example, and we asked one simple question, or there was a quality element. You get the room talking and people put their ideas forward. And that just helps to give context that actually it's really serious, and those quality processes and those outputs and those records that we need as an industry do help to keep people safe.
Yeah.
Simple as that, Emma.
Completely agree. I mean, I came across a few weeks ago, and I think probably what inspired me to start listening to podcasts more was when you initiated your Hard Hats and Headspace podcast. I came across a podcast called Open Fire, and one of my, not say biggest heroes, Stav will hear me talk about this particular lady quite a lot of the time, because she was the lady who undertook the investigation into the Grenfell Tower incident. So Dame Judith Hackett, massive advocate, he was the HSC chair. She also initially started her role in, her background was in sort of oil and gas initially, and became an engineer and said HSC chair, etc. But she made a few very good poignant points when it comes to the Grenfell Tower incident. And one of them was going initially down a root cause of the cladding. And what she said was that if we look at it as a singular problem, then actually we're missing out on the bigger picture when it comes to root cause analysis. I think what defines a good safety and quality culture is us being able to learn from those lessons learned.
Yeah. Absolutely. We look at lessons learned, and it's something we do more of when we're really good on the safety side from learning lessons learned. Very good. We need to get better on the health side of it as well as an industry, and from a quality side as well.
But that's a very good point. Culture.
Yeah, culture. It's culture.
How do you create quality culture?
And it's right first time.
Nobody comes to work wanting to do a bad job.
No.
There's a lot to be taken from a job well done. I attended a meeting only yesterday, which I thought might have been a challenging meeting. It turned out into a really positive outcome.
Yeah.
I felt so good. It was a small win. And that wasn't fixing things on site. That was just a meeting to discuss the strategy. But you feel good.
Yeah.
And what we try and do in Mace is, if somebody does some good work, we try and recognise that through what we call a quality awards system. I've seen those awards on footers of emails, LinkedIn, you name it. It's brilliant. Yeah. So those people feel really proud of that.
Makes a difference.
And that does make a difference. And that's how you start to build culture.
It is. You're recognising people. You mentioned Crossrail. I was lucky to be on Crossrail, I think. In many points. And we were doing a station job. People that I was a consultant for were employment business agency. But there was a lot of industrial relations issues on there. And the biggest one was keeping people because they were bored of taking their own work out and to rework it. And the design was poor. The instruction was poor. So therefore the quality was bound to be poor. They knew that, and then they'd spend the next week taking the work back out. So it's really important. I don't know what your experience was on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we need to take into account that quality is not only happening on site. We need to recognize that every part of the chain has a role to play. It starts from design and it stops at handover, if not later on during aftercare. And we also need to recognize that quality, it is very important. We are aiming for right first time, but we need to recognize that we can't always get right first time.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that when we embed to the culture that, yes, we need to be proud of the work we do. All these are nice stuff, but we need to make sure that everyone is feeling safe to say, I didn't do it right.
Yes.
There's something wrong here, and we need to, take a step back, see what went wrong and fix it and learn from it in the future. Sometimes people feel not empowered enough to stop and say, that doesn't feel right, regardless of what caused that. And we need to make sure that as an industry, we get better into making our people and team feeling safe enough to say, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
Or I did something wrong, because we are all humans at the end of the day. Something will go wrong.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we are prepared for when these things happen. We need to plan for failure and not fail to plan.
Yeah. Yeah. And that psychological safety that you talk about, I've talked about a lot on this podcast with different people about the feeling that you can speak up. And my experience of people saying, I fear I can't. And I'll say, look, I'm a senior leader in the tier 1 contractor. And they go, yeah, but you don't employ me.
Yeah. I've chaired or facilitated many investigations into things that didn't quite go well enough.
Yeah.
And there's a general feeling of, I've done something wrong or I'm in trouble. No, we try and pitch our sessions as we just want to learn, not blaming people. Tell us what happened. We can all learn from that. And I do think there is a general feeling that people think there's a consequence to doing something wrong, which shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
And Stab makes a good point. I've got a slogan, and you may have heard me say it many times previously. I want a culture where it's okay to stop for poor quality.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
The same as you don't walk by when it comes to seeing something, when it comes to health.
Should be the same.
Should be the same.
Because it both you could have the same outcome, right?
Yeah.
And if the quality goes unchallenged, poor quality goes unchallenged, but it doesn't break until after you've handed it over, that could be catastrophic, right?
Yeah.
And I have experience recently of someone in one of our jobs and complain about lack of deliveries and, having to carry too much. And the plan is wrong. You should stop. Well, I'll get pumped. It's like, you won't get pumped. Yeah, I will. Like, right. You won't. You definitely won't. Especially if you give me your name. You don't have to. I'll make sure you don't. But I can't do that wrong. So we have a job to do to change that culture and that behaviour in the middle. And so I don't think that's unique to construction, by the way. I think in automotive you'd have had it as well. It wasn't. I was surrounded by Scousers. They'd stop the line for anything. Really, you worry. I used to hit the red button because I'd be walking backwards and there'd be a drop. I'm like, this car's going to push me off. So I'd hit the red button and they'd come and tell me off. You stopped the whole line. I was like, yeah, but I could die. Well, you need to be faster. Nah. One of the many reasons I come out of manufacturing. But I think that cultural shift, it's not in our gift to give, but certainly in our gift to try and change.
I'll take you back to when I first joined Mace. So I came from a manufacturing background, build things in a factory. Now, in my head, things get built outside. So this was a whole new concept for me. And the guy that I worked with previously, Dave, why are we doing this? He said it was safer. I said, okay, get that. He said it's designed in a way that it fits together. It's an assembly process, reliable, it's much safer, it's much more predictable.
I've got a question for you then. When does you kind of alluded to this before? When do you think quality starts, Emma? When do you think quality should be the first consideration?
From the beginning.
The beginning of the job?
No, even before the job. I mean, I've spoken about this actually on a number of occasions. Normally at the point when we get pulled into the mix is when it comes to sort of the technical adjudication meetings or commercial. But what I'd like to see sort of going forwards is that when we're looking at a particular job that we want to go for, why are we not going out onto site?
When they're bidding it.
Quality perspective, from a safety perspective, having those key people who do have that knowledge and skill set and experience to be able to understand the scope of works. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to the point of setting up Engage, which is our management system, all the way from early contractor involvement to the handover and aftercare part, there are people who are part of those roles and responsibilities for all those different disciplines that are the ones that are having to produce the paperwork, or the ones that are going to have to be doing the compliance reviews to make sure that the paperwork we've got in place is correct and up to the right quality and safety standards. So why not get those people involved in the beginning? Because it's too late when we start running ahead with a project delivery and answering the questions when things start to trickle and end up going wrong. It is too late. I mean, going back to Dame Julia Packett, I brought some notes in with me today, but when she led the Building a Safer Future, one of the things that she said in there was you can't have safety without quality. And going back to your initial question around what happened with the Titan incident, the Grenfell incident with Piper Alpha, there was missed opportunities all along the way whereby actually people did speak up when it come to issues around quality and both safety as well. But actually either those people didn't have a job at the end of the day, and it put people's lives at risk. 72 people. The 5 people in that submarine. At what point, rather than learning from a tragedy, we have got our service excellence delivery plans. We have got our safety first delivery plan. Sort of saying it from a Bible perspective, probably like don't want to sort of bring this sort of podcast into religion, but that's the go-to place where we review how we performed in previous years and how do we need to ensure that we build on having a lasting legacy to continuously improve and not make the same mistakes that we've done before.
And I think it is really important, actually, but having that set up from the beginning, someone's worrying about quality or what they've got to do, I just think, I don't really want to put my name to this. As a tradesperson as well, right through the supply chain, it is at the end of the day the people that put the pipes and wires, or whatever trade it is, on the wall that do the final bit that we get paid for. Having those things set up front, and I was thinking about the procurement phase and why businesses shouldn't pride themselves on being the cheapest, because the cheapest has usually got something missing, and quality is probably a big part of that. Look at Grenfell. I mean, I bought a house in 2010, was built by the same company, Ryden, from Grenfell. I'll tell you, it wasn't that good quality either.
No.
So I can see it from that moment of inception of a project or a program you want to deliver. It needs to be there.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that I had a contractor come round working on behalf of a company, and I had 2 bathrooms redone, sort of pulled out, a wet room and a bathroom. At the same time, I was also having my kitchen done. My kitchen was finished and it was beautiful. On my 30th birthday, I woke up to water coming horizontally out the wall And it was devastating.
Yeah.
It was my first time I ever bought a house, and it was my home with my family and bring up my young boy. And yeah, it was a stressful few months with having to go back to that company and go, this isn't right. And they ended up sort of bringing a contractor in that was competent and trained in actually building a wet room. So why do we allow on occasion substandards of work when working for a company like Mace? With our contractors coming in, but we wouldn't allow that in our home.
I see, but I bought 2 relative new builds. The first one was 2 years old, and then I bought one off plan. And I think, so look, I used to look at it, they have teams like you, they're in place, they come and go, you've done it bloody wrong, right? And you haven't done the documents on it. And then I went and watched my house be built. I go past every week and watch it go up, and mine was the first one up. So I lived on the building site as well and watched them building it. So the quality was shocking. Both terrible. Went to speak to someone because I had a black hat on. I thought he'd be a supervisor because that's what I'm used to. And I said, "You're a supervisor?" He went, "No, Gav, just arrived today. Who are you?" So I live here. Have you got a black hat on then? So I said, "Yeah, I've got." And I'll be slightly careful what I say, but I do believe the home building part of construction gives all of construction a bad name. The domestic market, it really does. They don't have people like you. They have an off-the-shelf build a house. Right, go and do that. I watched it arrive modular, so some of it was all right, but that was the timber framework. Things like you saying with the horizontal water coming out, it's not unheard of. It's common. The defects list you get on a new build, as long as you're on, if you pay someone to come and do it. The bloke on TikTok, you seen him? The Welsh guy? Absolutely shocking. You need to look him up. When he goes around the house looking at all these different lintels and all that. It's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, he is brilliant.
He's probably done more for domestic quality than anyone, I would think. Whereas you look at our game, yeah, we could be better, but I tell you, there's plenty worse than us, and that's thanks to what you guys do, really. So, the different ways of learning from these events and, lessons learned. How do we make them stick?
Yeah. I go back to when I worked in automotive, the best ideas, I knew what wasn't working. Like I said earlier, they don't want to do a bad job. Nobody does, do they?
You won't be able to go past and go, I did that. I mean, I kind of tentatively did on mine. I do my job. I never pick up a tool, but, helping people to be their best and be out on a job is really important. So how do we get more of that out of more people on the ground on the jobs?
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge, but I completely agree with both of you. Yeah, we need to think about how we can implement more bottom-up management compared to the opposite. I mean, we have a lot of processes and procedure, including from our companies. The suppliers have their own, we have the clients' procedures. We need to stick to all of them. And sometimes these don't work together. The people implementing them on site, I think, are the best to advise on that, and maybe we can take that on board and see how we can make their processes in line with each other, so we can save these guys and girls some time, or at least make it a little bit less confusing for them.
And the stress and mental health side of that can cause for the workforce.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, part of quality, I would say the biggest part of it is continuous improvement. We should not forget about that. I mean, sometimes if something doesn't fall directly under the quality box, we don't think about it as quality, but improvement is a big chunk of it. So something might seem completely irrelevant, but at the end of the day, it will fall under the quality. So we should encourage, I think, our guys on site to talk to us, raise any ideas, and then maybe we can take it on board and update our processes a little bit and make them work for the people instead people work for the processes.
Yeah, I think they'd love that. I mean, a big part of my job, what I do is listening to the workforce. I spend a lot of time and hours doing that, and I love it. It's the best part of my job. I get to chair a meeting with operatives, no supervisors, no managers, no Mace managers either, and just say, what do we do well and what can we do better? Not positives and negatives, because that's old school. It's the wrong mindset.
Question for you, Stuart. Sorry, I know you're the host. Does quality ever get mentioned in those meetings?
Yeah. Quality of communications is usually top of the list for what we could do better. If you take the aviation sector, a lot of the work's done on nights. So the handover of information from days to nights, whether it's from subcontractors to the workforce, from tier one to the subcontractor to the workforce, things change between the day shift going home and the night shift coming in. And the wash-up's a bit better at the other end because they're put together, the shifts, but there's a gap, and people go, oh, I mean, I did this last week at one of the terminals. So I was in the daytime, and then I've got a couple of hours on my own, got locked out because I only had a daytime pass for the wine glass. So, and then you sit there for a couple of hours on your own, and I see the workforce coming in, and the supervisors and construction managers. I didn't see any interaction between the two. The conversations about, the comms, the planet, the quality of the planning for this job was shocking, they say to me. I don't know why. Can't say that. I was thinking, they're probably going to be right here. And it was the electrical contractors doing a job, and next to them were the dry lining contractors who were all PPE'd up to do their cutting, but the people next to them weren't. Well, the next bit of the job. So they stopped. They took the chance, as the bloke said, I thought I might get pumped, but I better tell someone. Because no one's, that quality of having a conversation between the two trades. And even at that granular point, I'm doing this, right? Have we got a plan in place for this? Have we followed the process to make sure when I'm being an electrician over here, the dry liner doesn't send a load of dust over my way from the dry lining? So yeah, it comes up a lot. I think people want to do a good job, you're right, but they want quality information and are able to do it. Good quality tools as well.
Yeah, to be to the highest standard.
And do you know what most people ask me for is an answer, no matter what the answer is. And it threw me a little bit at first, but I was like, they just don't feel heard. So if you go back and go, no, you can't have a pool table in the welfare, right, for example, that's what happened. At least they know they've been heard because you've gone back and said, that thing you've asked for, I can't give you. Or that way you might do your job, you can't do it that way because of get it now. Or you might go, as a quality or a designer, right? Well, we've done it this way. Yeah, but you haven't left any way for me to put my services in, and that's going to cause an issue, and you have to rework it. You think of that. That happens a lot, doesn't it? And if we just involve those people doing the job, it's brilliant. And those workforce engagement meetings I do across the business, they come up with some brilliant ideas. I think the best one we didn't even thought of because it wasn't part of our project was at Euston. 3 steps next to Cafe Nero and then our project. And there was CERs, because customer experience reps. Every day they were to direct people when they're coming in and out. And one of them came to me, he said, I really enjoy my job. I get to meet lots of celebrities, but I'm fed up with lifting pushchairs. Can we have a ramp? When you thought of it, the ramps have got the 3 steps. Because there used to be a ramp, but we dug it out to knock towers down. Our designers, because it wasn't on our job, so the quality, if you like, of the job he could do was going to affect his safety. Because he was lifting, maybe he shouldn't have done it, I don't know. But just the ideas that come from people that do the jobs, really important. It's not always the engineering side. Yeah,
you have to listen to them.
Well, I think there's a lot to learn from those on the tools, as well as those with the foresight and brains of it, this way of my technical knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. I mean, we've got what's called golden thread of information, or what Dame Judith Hackett likes to call it, the golden thread of accountability. Yeah. And I think that everybody has a part to play in when it comes to ensuring that the job is built right first time. Or if we, going back to the conversation earlier, do come up with challenges that we're facing, then we do need to all listen to one another and have quality conversations, like you were saying. Myself and Stav not long ago have undertaken our Lean Six Sigma training. So we've both done our yellow and green belt, and they mention quite a lot through the training the voice of the customer.
Yeah. And
the voice of the customer isn't necessarily the person that pays you to do that job. It's all about everybody involved in that process. But in addition to that, the end users.
Yeah.
So obviously in our particular world, the end users can be anything from staff working in the airport to people going on our holidays or business trips, the contractors that have to continue maintaining those
Yeah, the
assets.
FN people.
So it's more of a wider piece than building something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's actually,
It's that user experience at the end as well, isn't it? It's hearing their voice. One of my passions is neurodiversity and inclusion in that. Reason for note is I've got diagnosed with ADHD, which was not a surprise to me really when I got it, but keeps me on track because I can wonder. But when we are designing our projects and putting our projects together, thinking of those end users is really important. And more than just physical, should we put a ramp? Should we put tactile paving in? The colours on the signs, yeah. How do you know? Put a sign up. Okay, what if they're dyslexic? What if they're dyspraxic? And they can't tell left from right, which is a real thing. I didn't know that till my wife is dyspraxic. And just those thoughts up front, the quality at the point we are designing a project, that's where quality should come in. Before the tender, in the bid to win the work, I think it's really important. And we should give it that credibility. It's a bit like health should have as much, well, a bit more of the funding comparatively to safety.
Sure. And then you end up with a product that actually does what it's supposed to do.
It does what it says in the
It's
tin.
reliable. You know, you press the button and it works. And, you know, it seems quite simple.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Except the way we design, we need to take into account the way we build as well. I feel our processes, they're not built for neurodiverse
Yeah.
persons.
Yeah.
And you can see there is they are built in a way that only particular type of people can follow them to the rule. And we need to make sure that we become more flexible in the future. Maybe we bring more neurodiverse people on designing the processes and make it a little bit more flexible so we can cover a wider range of people and is not built only in a particular way. This way, maybe we can overcome some of these challenges and making sure that quality is right when we need it to be.
I mean, I think we do that for people with different physical abilities or disabilities, right? We do that really well.
but it's the hidden ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is, and I mean, it is a passion of mine, this, and something I'm trying to push. People haven't quite caught up in construction as to other industries where if you design your workplace to allow people to be their best at work, what do you know? You're more successful. There's less turnover in staff. They're better at their job. I'm really fortunate to be friends with Dr. Nancy Doyle. She's like the leading voice in neurodiversity in the UK. And when I talked to her, she started off in construction, helping people get jobs in construction as scaffolders, helping those scaffolders and their companies understand how best to improve the working life experience for both, for the company and for the individuals, was huge. It's massive. And that company is really successful now. It's one of our suppliers. But this goes back to 2008-9. We don't do that. We don't look holistically at better people. My favourite example I've used on loads, right, is the construction manager with ADHD, and I can relate to this. You stand in the middle of a construction site, whether it's in the terminal or out in a greenfield site, and there's everything around you, and you're trying to read a drawing. It's really hard to read it because there's something behind you moving. There's a lift going on over there you've got to be conscious of. There's a green route where people are walking past on their phone. You're like, oh, I just can't concentrate. But there's a wall over there. And you go stand against the wall, you lose 180 degrees of distraction. Now, that's a reasonable adjustment. And it's free. But we don't think like that. We should. There's all sorts of things like that we can do to make our sector more inclusive. And we need to whack some budget in on the health side, because it's mental health and neurodiversity and inclusion.
Neurodiverse people usually have good skills in engineering and mathematics. I mean, I'm not a specialist.
There's some evidence that autistic people, for example, are brilliant in things like GCHQ. They go out and say, you recruited in this field, people working with people who know ADHD. It's no surprise I've got the job I've got because of the way my brain works. I mean, I catastrophize everything in my head and then work back. Like that, even things like the train was delayed this morning and I had someone coming in at 9. I'm like, oh, what's the worst that can happen? And then I work back. But it goes so fast in my brain. So dealing with problems is brilliant for me as an ADHDer. However, give me a 6-month project. It's rubbish. I'll do it in the 3 days before it's due. It's terrible. I have to admit it. There's no point. It's like, doing appraisals. Probably doing my bit in the week before. Write it up. Because I just can't do it. Whereas I think other people would be different, and they would be every week set out a plan, just different in it. And we don't need to allow people to be different to be the best. And that applies really in what we're doing and our quality documents, no different to the toolbox talk. How do we consider how they're delivered to the people?
Something that I mentioned actually when I first joined Mace, being in my former role, and I think what I've learned from being in quality in comparison to health and safety is the way that how accident investigations are undertaken. Initially started off like taking a statement from somebody, to then now it being called witness interviews, I think, from my recollection. Yeah. But what I've learned from being in the quality team, sort of under Russell's guidance, is around bringing people into a room and understanding from the people who were doing that job and recognising that something has gone wrong, but being in that inclusive environment rather than feeling like they've got a target on their back. And, we use a variety of tools and techniques, whether that is putting up something on the board to everybody to be involved in and to visualise, to going out and walking the site collectively together to understand and visualise kind of what's gone wrong. What seems to happen is that we have an incident and a toolbox talks gets sent out and it gets read from a bit of paper. And how do we confirm that understanding from those people that they know what happened and where it went wrong, to how they ensure that they're not making the same mistakes, which then becomes a near miss and then becomes an incident again. I think, looking at the guys who are on the tools, if you have an issue with, for example, the inspection and testing when it comes to a crane or a vehicle, if they're not undertaking those checks and they're missing that sort of step in regards to the quality process, then why not take them through that process from a physical perspective rather than reading on a bit of paper, what are we doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it? Why not make it a physical activity?
Well, I think that's a really good idea, right? I have long criticised, and not just in my current role, but that bit at the beginning of a shift where you do dabs or nabs, right? Right, this is what we're doing. This is the plan for today. Off sheet is a drawing. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? No. Because I don't understand you, but I don't want to say. Right? So there will be some of that.
People don't like to speak, do they?
So, not in a group, not always. Some people find it hard to stick their hand up. How many meetings have you been to where you go, any other business? No, it's fine. And then you go to walk away and someone goes, actually, can I have a word?
And that goes back to the culture
Yeah.
that we mentioned before. Yeah, people need to feel more empowered to talk. You did mention earlier on your meetings with operatives, they expect from you an answer almost like straight away. Maybe we need to change our mindset there. Maybe they need to understand that they have a part to play on the answer. The answer may come from them, not from leadership all the time. Sometimes they are more familiar with the task or the issue at the time. Maybe they can provide some leadership upwards.
I agree. And give us some account. I love the golden thread of accountability is a far better phrase than just information. We should have gone for that, really. But I can understand why people who are on the risk side might say, don't use accountability. But we are accountable for our actions at all parts of the job, including the operatives. We need to make them understand that.
Yeah, maybe they should brief some toolbox talks to their colleagues when they did something really good, instead of me as a quality manager writing down a quality toolbox talks and then the supervisor read it out of a paper. Maybe one of the operatives can teach them how to do it because I figured out the best way.
Yeah, and I think what I've noticed so far in our chat is we're talking about thinking differently, not on purpose. I think that is where we are. But it is, the theme for Quality Week this year is think differently, getting everyone in the process to think differently. So how come, with the experience we've got with the Hackett report or the issues we've got from our own experiences, actually, on our own projects, what do we do? What fresh perspectives can we help to build safer, healthier, and more resilient teams and projects from that? What are we doing moving forward to encourage a better quality approach from everyone? Or what can we do?
It's what we leave behind. It's
Yeah.
the legacy that we leave when we complete the project.
Yeah.
We've got to listen to people. We've also got to demonstrate a bit of leadership as well. We have to be leaders. We have to lead by example, but we also have to listen. We have to say what their concerns are.
Yeah.
Like Stavros was saying, we've got many tools and processes that we sort of implement on our sites. I personally worked on the tools, but I can imagine it can be quite challenging at times. Like say, working in the night, in the cold, need to make it so that they can be successful and simplify things.
And that's a good point, actually, because obviously your mind works differently. There's medical evidence. It works differently in a night shift than it does a day shift because you're naturally tired, right? Your body's supposed to go to sleep between 3 and 6 to especially for guys, testosterone. And that's when you rebuild that. And that's not being done if you're working a night shift. But the ability to hold on to information, especially, when we have engineering hours and the stuff we have, it is difficult. So we should maybe look at that, the comms thing between days and nights as well. I see a lot of those, the workforce that are there. I mean, my joke about not doing shifts has always been they were moving to continental shifts and I couldn't wear a sombrero. But actually, it was the effect on my body and my brain. Welcome to come to any of those workforce engagement meetings. They're about 9:30 at night, but you're welcome to come. It's about an hour long and just listen in and say, look, think from a quality perspective, guys, when you're doing your jobs. Because they're open, and the biggest key to people being open is don't take their names. It's so important, and people feel a bit more free to be open. I mean, you get to know people, right? Because you walk around, but you guarantee them, I'm not putting your name on a bit of paper saying we're not doing this bit right because an operative brought it up. And someone always gets a bit offended. Well, tough. They wouldn't have said it if we weren't doing it wrong. So, but they're great. So if you want to come to any of them, you're welcome. I rotate them around each terminal.
I think innovation as well is key. I think just because we've done things over the past 20 or 30 years doesn't mean that, first and foremost, it was the right way to do it. But also, we've got to encompass the kind of AI that's coming into our lives. And I think it's coming in very thick and fast.
Very fast, yes.
I remember when I think I got my first phone when I was 11. And that's only because I went from primary to intermediate and I had to catch a school bus and I had a full-time working mum. And, even at the age of 34 now, she'll still text me going like, have you got in home safe? But we only used to have...
You're always a child to someone.
Definitely. But we only used to have one game on it and that was Mace and Ladders. But now we've got Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and there are tools like Copilot that, with
ChatGPT,
ChatGPT, and I think that it's good for us to kind of go and explore some of those particular AI software. I mean, there's AI software that you can drop in a document and it will read the standards and then it will go and deliver, from an avatar perspective, it will give, that information in a condensed 3 to 5 minute video and it can be done in multiple languages. So again, if we really are wanting to think differently and be innovative, and also when it comes to equality and diversity and inclusion, then we need to start thinking ahead. And again, it's my third quote about Dame Judith Hackett. But,
fangirling.
She said that, we shouldn't have to wait until a regulatory standard comes out. We should be thinking ahead about what we can be doing differently to drive that continuous improvement and making, not only a great place for us to work in, but also, again, the voice of the customer, the end users and the people using it at the end of the day. So
We should not, legislation should not make us amazing. We should have a drive to be the best at what we do, because then people want to buy our product, people want to work for us. There's a fine line between people wanting to work for us because we've got the most work versus people want to work for us because we're the best to work for. And quite often, and I'm never apologetic for this, people will say, your company are the toughest to work for and they're the hardest. Good, proud of that. You, man, you're so compliant, unlike the others. Good. Because we're doing what's expected of us. And they go, yeah, but why do you do this? You create all this fuss. Well, it's our standards, or it's your standards you're asking us to apply, whatever it is. So I don't think we should be apologetic ever for that. And I never do apologise for it, because some people deserve a clip round here as well, metaphorically speaking. So before we close today, I'd love to hear some thoughts from each of you. Maybe it's something that stayed with you for today's conversation, or a message you want to share with others working in our industry, not just our company. Those thinking about how quality connects wellbeing and safety, maybe. So it's just something, some reflection on our conversation.
Make a start. I think this year's theme for World Quality Week is quite relevant. I think differently. It's something we should all consider how we can embed on our day-to-day jobs. Clearly, the things we did today didn't work so well in all the instances. We had all these incidents that we discussed earlier. So we need to take that opportunity. Within our aviation business unit, we took that opportunity this year, and we have prepared a few celebrations for our teams. That includes our suppliers, our operatives on site, Mace staff in the office. We are hosting a few events from Monday to Friday, some of them online and some of them face-to-face. We do have a nice event planned with Mace, Heathrow, and a few other Tier 1 and Tier 2 contractors at Compass Center. And on Monday, we have a session planned at Gatwick as well on the Pier 6 extension project. So we encourage everyone from the Mace team and our supply chain and the client to join these celebrations with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think for me, it's that we shouldn't be learning after a tragedy, like a tragedy that's happened. We should be building that learning in as part of continuous improvement. I have to say that, and I know that I say this a lot to Russell, but I'm very proud of the team that I work in, because we're not the kind of team that sits still. We do drive for that continuous improvement and change. And my advice to anybody is that if you do have, concerns, or you think that we could be doing something better, then please come and speak to one of the members of the team.
Get in touch.
Because quality is for everybody, not just the quality team. So, the more people that come and give ideas to us, and we can work with you, I think that that is building a better and safer future for everybody.
So this has been a really interesting discussion, hasn't it? I think we've covered quite a lot of topics. So for me, it's about that culture of it's okay to stop. I've said this for years. I haven't quite achieved it, but we can get that confidence, that comfortable feeling in the teams, in the operatives, that nobody will chastise them if they actually stop, say, no, something's not right here. Emma touched on tragedy. We've had building safety. Yes, it's a good thing for the industry, but not a good thing either. We shouldn't need that, Emma says, to make change. But from a quality professional point of view, now is the time to make it happen.
Yes.
There's actually a quote that you say a lot of the time, which is the lowest standards that you set are the highest you can expect to achieve.
Yeah, raising the bar.
It is all about raising the bar, definitely.
I think I've learned a lot from our chat today, because most of the time, the meeting we're in, or internal meetings, or sat in front of our tier twos when we're together, right? I might see you in the office, but I think the interaction actually, is it the interaction or the ambition? quality is really similar to the ambition for industrial relations. Not that I have to keep telling people what that means, but not least those that work with us. It is about risk management, but so that we don't come a cropper. So listening to what we want from our workforce, and the ideas you've come up with is really important, because if we can say, if people go away, I get listened to when I'm on a Mace project or on a Heathrow project or an HS2 project or whatever it is. And I enjoy it, feel like I'm it, and the job's done well, proud of that, then we've done a good thing, we've done a good job, and that will help us. Okay, curveball time. Right. There's one, thinking differently is the theme for this year. What book that you've read in your life has helped you to think differently? And I don't care what kind of book it is. What's your favourite book that changed your mindset?
That's probably the worst question you could have asked me, Stuart, because I don't read books.
Or listen to
books either. But there is one book, and I will quote it, and it goes back to my about. I've recommended it to, and I'm afraid I can't quote a recent book.
Okay, I've got one for the end. I'll give you that.
Yeah, again, very similar to Russell. I think we're all certainly very similar. I don't know, we've not really spoken about books, but I'm a podcast person.
Okay.
But I would say that my most recent book that I've started reading is by a gentleman called Simon Squibb, and he's over the news quite a lot, especially when it comes to TikTok. And he's a millionaire, and he goes out into the street and asks people the question, "What's your dream?" And a lot of people walk away and they go, "I don't have a dream." And sometimes they'll come back and actually go, "I do have a dream." And yeah, for me, I think that whether that's a dream, both professionally and personally, I think that, it's important to
have something to aim
for. Have something to aim for in life.
Yeah.
So, I would highly recommend it, and, just go onto TikTok and watch some of his videos, because he's really changed the lives of people from working in a rat race sort of industry to sort of getting to think about, what do I want from life and what do I want to achieve? So that's my recommendation.
Very good.
Yeah, you got me here as well, Stuart.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a book reader either.
I think there's a common theme in the quality.
Maybe quality don't read very much.
We need to go and
read too much.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a podcast girl as well. My favorite one is quite a popular one, and a few
This
people
one?
are. Well, this one as well. CEO is a quite popular.
Oh, yeah,
People
very
like
good,
it.
yeah.
And it touches on various different topics. So I think it widens your way of thinking, because it brings so different people on each episode. So if you consistently watch it, you're literally gonna get the opinion of a lot of different, diverse people. It opens up your mind.
I do. I like that one. And I obviously have had a podcasts too, which got me into doing them. And I've done a few, and I've listened to a lot, and very varied. The book I'm going to recommend for the three of you is brilliant for quality here. It's by Matthew Said. It's called Black Box Thinking. It is fantastic.
I have read that.
And the opening chapter, have you read it?
No, I haven't. No.
I'll bring it in.
Right. Where's the opening chapter based? Heathrow Airport.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And the plane nearly lands on the Bath Road instead of the runway because it's really foggy. And the wheels are just a metre above the rooftops of the hotels. And it's all about the black box thinking. So learning lessons, marginal gain as you go through it. And it's so important for that CPI, right? That we want to see marginal gains. If we're all 1% better every day, that's 365% better or more than that cumulatively over a year. So I recommend that. The podcast I'd recommend industry-wise, because I've been on his podcast, but also there's a really interesting one about Grenfell. Steve Kerslake in construction sport is very good, and the Grenfell one is particularly good. And he interviews a guy called John, is scaffolding, and the scaffolding job that went on for that. Listen, I think I've learned a lot from today. I appreciate you handling the curveball there and answering it well, and I look forward to doing it again and talking a bit more, not just on next year's Quality Week, but we'll do more.
Yeah, let's do it.
Always welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And our pleasure. And thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you all soon.